After a couple more gentle questions, Viola let me change the subject. Catch me up on what we're talking about. Ariel wants a fuck buddy, Daisy helpfully supplied. We're giving her a list of sex positions. Ooh, dangerous for a woman who just spent hours screaming through the consequences of just such a list. Item 1, good contraceptive, Viola quipped. Got that covered. I've been taking the pill since I was 16. Smart woman, the new mother commended. The ladies returned to their task of scrawling out my sex list. Snuggled against the cushions where Jackson had slept, I conjured him in my mind, trying out these scenes with me. As my most recent crush, he was easy to imagine in the role. He'd never in a million years agree if I asked. I pictured his expression. Dark, glowering, grumpy, no doubt. That was probably the reason I liked him. His total lack of interest in me. I almost wanted to ask him just to see the look on his face. How do we find you a guy? Daisy asked eventually. I took the pad and scanned the list, which helpfully ended in, repeat all this using toys. Some of the items, like reverse cowgirl, I wasn't sure how to do. Someone had listed a couple of websites to further my education. Any obvious candidates? Effie said. A sound came from elsewhere in the apartment. I cocked my ear. Maybe I was just jumpy. God knew I had the right. How about the new bodyguard? Casey said. Jackson? I've seen him around, but I don't know anything about him. Daisy, is he good enough for our girl? He's the serious type rather than a playboy, Daisy chirped back. I don't think he'd mess her around. Ben would fire him if he did. Who else is single on the estate? What about the other new guy, Valentine? Effie prodded. Surnames? Said Viola down the line. Valentine Graham and Jackson Reed, Daisy supplied. Researching them now. Her fingers tapped on her phone. Ben's brother's a gentle giant from what I know of him, Daisy continued. They aren't super close, so I'm making it my job to bring them together. I can now add a second task in checking out his credentials as a friend with benefits for Ariel. Jackson's more of a mystery. Found an engagement announcement, Viola crowed. I slapped my hand to my mouth. Not for a second had I considered that Jackson had someone. He was engaged? What had I done? Viola continued. It says here that Valentine's going to marry a woman named Kelly. Kate made an O face. Casey raised her eyebrows. I pressed my palm to my thundering heart. Not Jackson. Daisy waved a hand. Not that Viola could see. Ancient history. Kelly was using him and they broke up. Ben told me some of that story, including how Valentine was heartbroken. Aw, see? Now I want him to have the love of a good woman. Ariel? Viola said with all the amusement gone from her voice. There's a newspaper article that mentions Jackson. Several, actually. Distracted and very overheated, I stood from the sofa. Hold up. Before any of you decide on me propositioning Jackson or Valentine for sex, let me... The door swung open. My words dried up. Jackson stood in the frame, his spare keys to our apartment in his hand and his dark gaze fixed on me. Valentine waited behind him, but all I could see was my brother's best friend. From his expression, he'd heard every word I'd just said.